The word on the wall. When I entered the metro that morning, I felt tired and cold. The air was heavy and people moved fast. I looked down and walked slow. I didn't care about much. I never liked English. I never tried to learn it. But then I saw something on the wall. It was one word, a big white word on dark grey. 4 letters only. It said, hope. I stopped. I don't know why. People walked past me, but I just stood there. I looked at the word again and again. I didn't know what it meant. I had seen English words before, but I never cared. This time felt different. My heart beat faster. My eyes stayed on the word. It was strong, quiet and simple. The train came, but I didn't move. I was still looking at the word. It felt like the wall was talking to me. I had never felt this way before. Not from a word. Not from English. I got on the train, but my mind stayed with that word. I sat down and looked at my hand. I wrote the letters with my finger. H-O-P-E. All day I thought about it. I asked myself many times, what does this word mean? I wanted to know. I needed to know. That night I searched for it. I looked online. I typed the letters. I found the meaning. It said, hope means to believe something good can happen. I read it many times. My chest felt warm. My eyes were wide. I read it again. To believe something good can happen. I smiled. That small word gave me a new feeling. A feeling I did not know I needed. I wanted more words like that. I wanted to learn. I never thought I would say that. But it was true. Before I slept, I took a small notebook from my drawer. It was old and empty. I opened the first page and wrote, hope. I looked at the word and said it out loud. I smiled again. I closed the book and held it in my hand. That night, one word changed me. One word made me start. The next morning, I woke up early. I opened my notebook and looked at the word again. It was still there, hope. I touched the page slowly. I felt something inside me. It was soft but strong. I took the notebook with me and went outside. The city was loud, but I walked with quiet steps. On the bus, I opened the page again. I did not read anything else. I just looked. At lunch, I sat alone and looked around. I saw a girl reading a small book. The title was in English. I wanted to ask her something. I waited. Then I walked over and said hello. She looked up and smiled. I pointed to my notebook and asked, this word? What does it mean? She read it and said one word back, hope. Then she said, it means a good future. I listened carefully. A good future. Her voice was soft. She spoke slowly. I liked that. I repeated the word after her. She nodded. Yes, she said, hope means not giving up. That sentence stayed in my mind. I said thank you and walked away. I wrote her words in my notebook. Under the word hope, I wrote not giving up. After that day, I started to look at more English words. I looked at signs, books, ads, and even shirts. I tried to guess the words. If I didn't know, I wrote them down. I searched for them at home. Each time I learned something new. I felt like I was walking through a door into a new place. It was hard, but also exciting. I bought a small dictionary from a street store. It was cheap and light. I put it in my bag and carried it everywhere. In the metro, I opened it and read. On the bus, I read. I didn't understand everything, but I kept going, one word at a time, one page at a time. I was learning slowly, but I was learning. That week, I learned 3 more words: dream, believe, and freedom. I wrote them in big letters. I said them out loud. They felt like friends. Every word had meaning. Every word had power. I started to think in English, just simple things. But it felt new. It felt good. My notebook was getting full. One evening I went back to the same metro station. I walked to the same wall. The word hope was still there. The white paint looked a little old now, but it still felt strong. I stood there for a while. People passed by just like before. But this time I was different. I knew the word now. I felt close to it. I touched the wall softly and smiled. It was like saying thank you. As I stood there, I saw someone sit on the bench. It was the same girl from before, the one who told me the meaning. She had the same book in her hand. I took a deep breath and walked to her. I sat down and said hello. She looked at me, surprised. I opened my notebook and showed her my words: hope, dream, believe, freedom. She read them and smiled. "You've been learning," she said. I nodded. "Yes," I said, "every day, one word." She asked me to read the words out loud. I did, slowly but clearly. She helped me say them better. We laughed when I made small mistakes. But I wasn't shy. I felt safe. She was kind and patient. We talked for a few minutes. Very simple English. I told her my name. I said, "I didn't like English before. Now I do," she said. "That's because you found a reason." Her words were true. I had found a reason. Not a school, not a teacher, but a reason. One word on a wall. That was the start. That was my spark. Before she left, she gave me a small paper. On it there was a quote: "Words can open doors you never knew were closed." I read it twice, then again. I didn't understand every word, but I felt the meaning. I thanked her. She said, "Keep learning. You're doing great." Then she waved goodbye and walked away. That night I sat by my window. The city lights were soft and quiet. I opened my notebook again. I wrote the quote she gave me, slowly, letter by letter. I looked at the page and felt proud. I wasn't fast. I wasn't perfect. But I was trying. I was growing. I smiled. English was not just a subject now. It was a journey. The next morning I walked to a small shop near my home. I bought a new notebook. This one had a blue cover and clean white pages. I wanted to use it only for English. On the first page I wrote, "My English Journey." I added the words I had learned. Then I left some space for more. Every page felt like a step. I was building something, not fast but steady. It gave me joy. At work, I started to notice more English around me, on machines, on signs, even on boxes. I wrote the new words in my notebook. Some were easy, some were long. I did not understand them all, but I did not stop. I asked questions when I could. Sometimes I searched when I got home. I was slow, but I was not afraid. One day my boss gave me a paper with some English words before I would feel lost. But this time I looked at the words and smiled. I understood a few. I guessed some. I used my small dictionary to check the rest. It took time, but I finished the task. My boss said, "Good job." That made me happy, very happy. Later that week I saw a little boy reading a picture book. He pointed to a word and said it out loud. I smiled. I remembered I used to hate English, but now I was like that boy, learning with heart. I sat on a bench and opened my notebook. I read my words out loud. People looked, but I didn't mind. I was proud. That night, I tried something new. I watched a short video in English. I chose one with simple words. I listened carefully. I paused many times. I repeated the words. I wrote down the ones I didn't know. It was hard, but it was fun. I felt like I was training my ears. The sound of English became less scary. Before sleeping, I wrote in my notebook again, not just words this time. I wrote a short sentence. I like learning English. It was simple, but it was true. I read it many times. I whispered it to myself. Then I closed my book and turned off the light. My room was quiet. My heart was full. I was not the same person anymore. The next few weeks felt different. Every day I woke up with a goal. One new word, just one. I would hear it, read it, or find it somewhere. Then I would write it down. I kept my notebook with me all the time. On the bus, at lunch, even during breaks at work, I would take it out and read. It became a habit, a quiet part of my day. My world was changing word by word. One morning I saw an old man sitting on a bench. He had a newspaper in his hand. It was in English. He looked at me and smiled. I sat down next to him. He pointed at the page and read a word. Then he asked me, "Do you know this?" I said, "Not yet." He laughed and said, "Good answer." That small talk gave me courage. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to keep going. Later that day, I walked by a school. The windows were open, and I heard children singing in English. I stopped to listen. Their voices were clear and bright. I understood some words, not all, but I didn't feel sad. I felt hope, just like the first word I saw. I stood there for a few minutes. Then I walked away with a smile. The sound stayed in my ears. It felt warm. That evening I met the same girl again. She was walking near the station. I waved, and she waved back. We walked together for a while. I told her about my notebook, my new words, and the short sentence I wrote. She said, "You're doing great." Then she gave me another word, courage. I liked how it sounded. It felt strong and kind at the same time. I wrote it in big letters on a new page, Courage. She said, "It means being brave, even when you are afraid." That word touched me. I had felt fear many times, but I didn't stop. I kept learning. That was courage. I smiled and thanked her. She said, "Keep your courage." It will help you grow." Then we said goodbye again. At home, I looked at the word courage for a long time. I said it out loud, slowly and clearly. I wrote a sentence, "I have courage." I read it again and again. It made me feel strong. I didn't feel small anymore. I didn't feel lost. I was learning, I was growing, and now I was brave too. English was becoming a part of me. A few days later, I walked into the metro again. I passed the wall where I first saw the word. The paint was fading now, but the word was still there, hope. I stood in front of it. This time I understood everything. I smiled and touched the wall again. That simple word had changed my life. It was not just a word anymore. It was a door to something bigger, something new. I thought about all the words I had learned. Each one had a story. Dream gave me ideas. Believe made me trust myself. Freedom helped me speak without fear. And courage showed me how to keep going. Every word was a step. Every page in my notebook was a part of my journey. I didn't know much yet, but I had started. That was enough. That night I sat in my room and looked through my notebook. The pages were full, not just with words, but with meaning, effort, and heart. I read my old sentences again. I smiled at my own mistakes. I didn't feel bad about them. They were part of learning. They showed my path. I could see how far I had come. I felt proud, quietly proud. I opened a new page and wrote a sentence. English helps me see the world. It was true. The words helped me speak. They helped me listen. But more than that, they helped me feel. I could feel the meaning behind them. I could feel the people behind the language. I could feel connection. That was the real lesson. I didn't become perfect. I still made mistakes. Sometimes I forgot words or said things wrong, but now I didn't stop. I smiled and tried again. That was new for me. That was growth. I knew I would keep learning. I would read more, listen more, and speak more, not fast, but with heart. That's how I started, and that's how I would continue. At the end of the night, I wrote one last line under the word hope. I wrote, "This word changed my life." Then I closed my notebook and looked out the window. The lights outside were quiet. The world was big, but I wasn't afraid. I had a new friend now, a new language, and with every word I learned, I felt closer to the world around me.